people love to talk about being on Camino. They love to share their stories. And they're amidst other people who love to share their stories. So, and I think also it keeps it alive, and it keeps calling to you. We focus so much on the exterior, like, what am I going to wear? What am I going to pack? What am I going to put on my feet? Where am I going to get food? That we forget about the internal journey. So I decided, well, that would be a good thing to offer my pilgrims. When I think back on any Camino that I have done, I think of the laughter walking with my husband, or the laughter of meeting people, and the exchange of experiences, of stories. That's what Camino is to me. I think that's the beauty of the Camino, the loveliness of the experiences, of the countryside, of the aromas, of the food and the people that you meet. I would say to recognize that your Camino is your own, and it's not anybody else's, and it's not going to look like anyone else's, and don't compare it.
Welcome to the Way to Your Way podcast. Today we explore a journey shaped not by miles, walked but by years spent serving children, educators, and communities across New Mexico. Through outreach, collaboration, and meaningful conversation, our guests discover the power of connection, resilience, and belonging lessons that feel deeply connected to the spirit of the Camino. Welcome, Paula. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Very nice introduction. I'm doing well, thanks. And I hope you are too.
Okay, so you are retired, right?
Yes, 8 years.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what we just mentioned on the introduction about your career in New Mexico. How was that experience?
Overall, it was very good, very rewarding. So I started out as an elementary educator in Santa Fe, at a more affluent neighborhood, I would say, and then moved to Albuquerque and taught at a school in what was called the war zone. So it was more challenging. In fact, one year at the midpoint of the year, I had a 50% changeover in students.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was a lot of movement in that neighborhood. So that was quite challenging. I did it for about 8 years, and then decided I was ready for a change, looking for something else, and went to Catholic Charities and taught initially work skills as well as ESL. And while there, I also developed computer skills for beginner speakers of English, and then later on an intermediate class for people who had progressed. And I also developed a workshop, a guide for teachers of ESL who are working with refugees. Catholic Charities did resettle a number of refugees here in Albuquerque. So I was there for 3 years and loved it. And I only started looking for another job because I was interested in getting a master's. And someone said, why don't you, but I didn't want to pay for it because educators don't make much. And somebody said, well, why don't you see what kind of job you can get at the University of New Mexico? And then you'll get tuition remission. And so I started looking around and found a position with the Family Development Program in the College of Education. And, went to the interview, very relaxed, because I thought, if I do well, great. If I don't, I'm happy where I am. But I guess I did well, and I was offered the position and told that I was the #1 candidate.
Okay.
So I moved over to UNM, and I was there for 15 years.
Oh.
And, yeah.
And you completed your master.
And I got my master's, yeah.
Okay.
I did.
And what would you do at the university?
So initially, we were solely working with teachers of young children throughout the state of New Mexico. We would develop creative, hands-on, interactive workshops to bring to, and when I say teachers of young children, it was predominantly those in preschool, because here in this state, they don't need a degree, but they did have to receive 24 hours of professional development a year.
Okay.
And so we were part of helping to bring that professional development to preschool teachers. And we were well sought after. People had to apply to our program to get us to come there. We were funded partially by the state, partially by independent grants. And then as time progressed, the state then started looking at investment zones where, there was extra need, more rural areas, and perhaps, like one pocket where I worked, the high Native American population. Another pocket that I worked in Deming, New Mexico, on the border of Mexico. So a lot of need, and the idea was to bring community resources, people, and their programs together to learn from one another, so that they were not working in silos, but learning what each other had, what they provided, how they could work together to effect the greatest change for families and children.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting introduction of yourself, of what you have done and your career. And now, when was that you find out about the Camino?
I would say a couple of years before I retired. So that would have been in like 2016 or so. I don't know how the movie The Way came my way, as it does many future pilgrims. But yeah, my husband and I watched that movie The Way, and talking about it afterwards, we thought that would be a really nice thing to do post-retirement, to slow down, take life at a walking pace, have time for reflection, for building what our future would be post-retirement. And again, I don't know how, don't recollect exactly how, but learned about the local group here, the local chapter of American Pilgrims on the Camino, which brings pilgrims together. And so we heard about a gathering and attended, met other pilgrims and learned a little bit more about it, and then just continued to be engaged with that group, and went to some informational meetings that they have. For instance, a Camino 101, the basics of what to expect, how to prepare.
Okay. And that first Camino, how many Caminos have you walked?
3.
30?
3.
Oh, three. Okay. Which Camino have been those?
Okay, the first in 2018 was the Camino Português from Lisboa to Santiago, which is about 450 miles, I think. The second, which we did in 2 phases, was the Via Podiensis in southwestern France. It starts in Le Puy-en-Velay and goes to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port at the base of the Pyrenees,
Okay.
Well, and then continues over the Pyrenees if you want to. But we stopped at Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. And then last May, we walked the Chemin de Saint-Gilles, which also starts in Le Puy-en-Velay and goes to Saint-Gilles-de-Gare.
Okay.
And that's a short one. That's like 150 miles. We did it in 2 weeks.
And the second one, how many miles were?
I think, if I recall, the Via Poliensis is another. It's a long one. I think it's 400 miles, 380,
400
400
miles.
miles. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and then those experiences that you have gained through those caminos, and then how you can compare that with your experience at work. So, because there are a lot of challenges on both worlds. So, what would you say about that?
Challenges at work compared to challenges on the Camino.
Yes.
I would say the challenges on the Camino are much easier to manage
Okay.
than challenges at work. Because, for one thing, well, it's not work, so you're not obligated to have outcomes. For one thing, you have your own outcomes that you set for yourself, and if you make it, that's great. And if you fall short, you figure out why and what went wrong. There's no consequences, really, other than perhaps a bit of disappointment. I think, I don't know, I would say at work, I feel fortunate in that I did have a lot of support. I feel like overall, I had a very interesting, active career.
Okay.
So, but again, there's always, I suppose, like on the Camino, there'll be some people that are problematic. It's life, and people are who they are, no matter where they are. And so you have to, again, navigate personalities. But again, I would say on the Camino, you're with someone and then you're not. Maybe with them again and then you're not. Whereas at work, you're with them every day
Okay.
until hopefully they move on to something else.
Okay. But I would say that you're saying is correct. But then also, I would say that at work, with your partners that are in the company, yes, they are all the same unless that they leave or they get fired. But then that with customer, not always you have the same customer or the same kids or the same
Very
people.
true. Very true.
And everyone have a different story to tell or a different reaction to what you can provide as a solution when you're working. So those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. So those moments, how would you compare it with the Camino? Because on the Camino came and go people, but then and everybody is different as well. So how would you compare those moments, for example?
Well, I guess with work, yes, like every year it would be a different group of students. At Catholic Charities, I probably had some of the students for all 3 years I was there, because
Okay.
they just needed the continued practice of English. And at work, yeah, I would say that the overarching aspect of it is that it's all an opportunity for learning how other people think, how they navigate the world, what their fears are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, taking them where they are and helping to move them forward as an educator, and doing that as well with pilgrims you meet on the Camino sometimes who have fears. Or now that I'm coordinator of the local chapter, mentoring other pilgrims, or helping to find mentors for them. But things like that come up. How do you celebrate and support and strengthen people
Okay.
in their path on their way? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then you mentioned fear. I just spoke with somebody recently, and with someone recently, where that person say about fear that when people approach, sometimes American pilgrims on the Camino, one of the things that they are afraid of what is going to happen on the Camino, so they don't know about it. So what would you say in your case on your chapter of about people that approach?
Fears that arise. Is that what you mean? Fears that arise for pilgrims before
Yes.
they? I would say, one, did I do enough training? Am I prepared for this? Am I going to be able to not even walk the whole thing? Because a lot of people don't walk the whole thing the first time. They do it in stages. But am I going to be able to do a 13-mile day? With a pack or without? So I guess the physicality of it is a fear. I think that's the main one. I don't encounter too many people. Well, some people have fears about how Americans will be perceived on the Camino, or not only perceived, but how we'll be welcomed.
Okay.
I have heard that expressed. Let me think. Other fears. Well, am I going to be able to find a place to stay? Because people have heard or know that, particularly on the Camino Frances, if you're staying in an albergue, you, for the most part, are not able to reserve a room. And so there's the fear, am I going to get in town and not have a room to stay? And to that, I respond, well, the albergue may be filled, but there are other places to stay in town. And
Okay.
while it may be a little more expensive than the albergue, it's not going to break the bank.
Okay. And what about the welcoming for Americans? What have you say about that?
Oh, well, I've done a lot of travel, so I just say from my experience, citizens of other countries are able to separate the politics of their country, whether they agree with it or not, from the person who's walking. Just as we do when we're traveling. When we go to another country, or I'll say personally, when I go to another country, I'm not meeting people from that country as representatives of their government. I'm looking at them as an individual, as a human being. And I think that has overall been my experience in walking Caminos and travel in general.
Yeah. You have a connecting way, easy connecting way with others.
Yes. Yeah. People are very generous. I find people to be overall very generous and friendly and willing to go out of their way.
Okay. What is one thing that you remember that is in top of your mind about your experiences of the Caminos that you have walked?
One thing. That is a very tall order, Efrain. To pick one thing out of.
Well, you can say several if you want.
Oh, I don't know. Okay. I know in your questions, one of the first ones was like a memory from early days of walking my first Camino. And it was so interesting to me because the first thing that came to mind was the aroma and the scent of jasmine and orange blossom that I walked through almost every day, particularly going from the south to the north. It was like spring was arriving as I walked. But then I looked back over, so I write a WordPress blog when I'm on Camino, and I went back and looked at some of them, and it's like, oh yeah, the pain. The pain of those first few days. It was, but I think that's the beauty of the Camino, the loveliness of the experiences, of the countryside, of the aromas, of the food and the people that you meet. They really take a back seat to the initial discomfort, until you get used to your pack, and you get used to walking every day, day after day. So yeah, when I think back on any Camino that I have done, I think of the laughter, walking with my husband, or the laughter of meeting people, and the exchange of experiences, of stories. That's what Camino is to me.
Okay, and
And simplicity.
that's very good. And then talking back about what we're talking about fears. So those pilgrims that have been going to American Pilgrims, and then when they go to the Camino, have they returned back to the sessions with American Pilgrims?
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of them have. Not everyone.
Have they say anything, mentioning anything about what do they feel prior to going to the Camino, and then once they return the Camino, how they perceive?
No, but you know what? And we do have a welcome back pilgrim event every year. And I have to admit that I have not asked that, but I'm going to from now on. That's a fabulous question.
Okay, yeah, because that's important to know what's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but I would say I don't know, this is slightly related to that. This past year, well, the year before, I had attended the national gathering of American Pilgrims on the Camino, and one of the presenters talked about the inner Camino and preparing your inner self, because we focus so much on the exterior, like, what am I going to wear? What am I going to pack? What am I going to put on my feet? Where am I going to get food? That we forget about the internal journey. So I decided, well, that would be a good thing to offer my pilgrims. And only 10 people came. So I don't know if that is because it's maybe something more personal that people are not comfortable sharing. But it's interesting to me, because I think the inner journey is as important as the physical journey.
correct. Yeah, and there are unlimited reasons for having your inner reason to go into the Camino.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, yes, there are pilgrims that share that information. There are other pilgrims that do not share that information, but it's fun. So
yeah,
everybody's free to do whatever they prefer.
Exactly. But I thought more people would come to just, I don't know, like suss that out or explore that.
Okay.
Not that I was expecting, this deep inner workings or secrets or anything like that. But I don't know. Maybe I'll play with it and think about a different way to approach it.
Okay. The Camino that you made from Le Puy, what season of the year did you walk?
The year that I walked?
Yeah, what season was?
The season?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so we walked the first 12 days in the fall, in mid-September to early October. And then we went back, that was in 2023. We went back in 2024 and completed it in the spring.
Okay. It was cold because France is more cold than Spain.
No, it was not cold.
Okay.
Yeah, even in September. In fact, we put off beginning our chemin in France because it was so hot. They were having this amazing heat wave.
Okay.
So we went to the Dordogne for a week, and then we came back, and it was a little cooler.
Okay. Okay. And how many pilgrims are on the chapter that you are coordinating?
Well, there are about 460 on the e-newsletter list,
Okay.
but I would say about 10% of that is really active.
Okay. And then you were telling me that you have not written a book, but you have written a lot of newsletters. So what do you think that what can be relevant on those newsletters that you say that is important to mention in general?
Well, the newsletters are specifically for the chapter, the American Pilgrims chapter. So what's important about those newsletters is it's related to the mission of American Pilgrims on the Camino, which is to provide support for pilgrims, to gather them together, to share stories, share information. And so the newsletter provides that. So as coordinator, I will organize events. So inviting people to share their Caminos, to talk about them, to, with a slideshow, talk about their Camino, what they experienced, the challenges, and something they may have learned, a tip that was newfound as they walked. So we do that, coordinate hikes, happy hours, a spring and a fall gathering, and that always includes a blessing ceremony, and people receive a shell, the white shell, which National provides to the chapters free of charge. Then we provide them to our pilgrims for free. And they can select either a plain white one or one with the red St. James cross.
Oh, I didn't know that you can select it with the cross or without.
Yes.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. And then we recently met at the gathering that we was in Texas. And then it was that your first gathering or you have been before?
That was just my second. And so my first one was 2 years before this year in 24, and it was also at Mo Ranch.
Okay, it was on the same place.
Yeah.
Okay. A difference between the one in 2024 and the one in 2026, something that you say, well, we did this so different this year than the one before. Anything that you remember?
Yes. So this year, the second breakfast was a new thing.
Okay.
This year I volunteered, which I didn't the first time I went, but I volunteered to prepare food for one of the happy hours and serve it.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't have to cook or anything. Everything was there. I just had to put it together.
Okay.
But I did that with some other pilgrims. What else was different? The other things were the same pretty much.
And one question that I have, what would you say that when people are on those gatherings are so happy?
Why are they so happy?
Yes.
Well, you've done Camino. Yeah. You just came back from Labaniego.
Lebaniego, yes.
Lebaniego. I think it's because people love to talk about being on Camino. They love to share their stories. and they're amidst other people who love to share their stories. And I think also it keeps it alive, and it keeps calling to you. I mean, even without the gathering, that calling to return to Camino is there. But at the gathering, with all of the wonderful speakers who share, experience of being hospitalero, or, some of the history, learning about the history of areas of Camino. It just is so vibrant. It's so life affirming. I think that's a big part of it. And it's kind of like a little mini vacation, right? You're not responsible for cooking anything. Your meals are all prepared. You just show up and you can sit at any table and be welcome. And people will welcome you with a smile and conversation. And yeah, it's just wonderful.
It's like a mini Camino.
It's like a mini Camino. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not walking 13 miles a day.
Yeah. It's another experience. And for example, the experience that I just had, the gathering has been really good. But then the recent experience that I have on the Camino Lebaniego, that was just 4 days walking. And we was doing like a press trip. So it was super quick. But where you are there and where you are walking through the mountains, up, down, and looking all around, so you feel like you are out of the planet. And the same happened on the Camino de Santiago. Yeah. And so this time I was in the Camino Lebaniego. There was a monastery, the monastery of Santo Toribio. And over there are the relics, the bigger relics from the cross where Christ was crucified. So it's probably like this size. So they built like a this size cross, and seeing that is amazing. Yeah. So it's 2,000 years old, around 2,000 years old. So they have made tests about that. So to make that the wood of that was on the area, or all that. So I believe that it's actually that really
part of the true cross.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
so. And those are small towns. So the people that are around, the locals. So that all is that a great experience.
Yeah, I love walking through the small towns.
Yes.
Portugal, France.
And what advice would you do for those pilgrims that have not walked the Camino but wanted to walk it?
Advice, I would say to definitely prepare yourself. Go to American Pilgrims on the Camino website for lots of great information, YouTube videos. Now that I know about you, I recommend that they come watch some of your podcasts. But mostly I would say to trust yourself, to know that if something does go awry, there will be somebody around to help you. That don't overpack, because if you do need something, you can get it in Spain, in France, in Portugal. They've all, got pharmacies and grocery stores and everything that you might need. Decathlon. And I would say to recognize that your Camino is your own, and it's not anybody else's, and it's not going to look like anyone else's. And don't compare it to, one that you watched on YouTube or somebody you talked to and what theirs was like. To recognize it for what it is and appreciate that. And, if you get a sore foot and you have to take a day off, take a day off. Or if you have to take the bus, it doesn't mean that you're not a pilgrim if you have to take the bus. I mean, I know there's that out there in some circles, a real pilgrim carries their own pack. A real pilgrim walks every step of the way. A real pilgrim, but I think a real pilgrim is what you carry inside of you and what you make it mean.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So what you say, you carry that with you on your inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then doesn't matter if you are taking the backpack with you, if you are taking the bus or not taking the bus, you are still there. And you are sharing with everyone.
Yes.
The fact that you have the backpack or don't have it, that doesn't mean that you're not gonna be sharing with others, or you're not gonna be walking.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. So well. So thank you very much, Paula, for this podcast today. So I appreciate it that you be here with us, and for you pilgrims, please keep adding your comments on the comment sections. And buen camino, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Efrain. I very much enjoyed being here and appreciate your thoughtfulness.
Okay. Thank you.